She blames you, confuses you, controls you. But what if I told you the smartest way to deal with her is not to fight? It's to walk away with clarity she'll never understand, to stop justifying yourself and start choosing peace. And the reason you feel so drained is because you've been giving your energy to someone who thrives off keeping you confused. You know what hurts the most? Not what she does, but the fact that you tolerate it. But today, that ends, because you're about to learn the 5 smartest ways to deal with toxic women. And if you stick around till the end, it will transform everything. Comment, "I choose peace," if you're ready. Number 1. Don't take the bait. She doesn't shout because she's emotional. She does it because it works. And the moment you argue back, you've already lost control of the conversation and handed over your power on a silver plate. And now she gets to flip the script and make you the villain for raising your voice while she plays victim, even though she poked every wound you have until you snapped. Because that's the game. She isn't seeking truth. She's seeking control. And the sad part is, you still believe that if you just explain it right, if you stay calm, if you're kind enough, if you prove your love, she'll finally understand and treat you right. But that day never comes because the goalposts keep moving. And the only rule is this: your pain must always be less important than hers, and your reactions will always be the evidence she uses against you. And you don't see it at first, because she wraps her chaos in tears and softness, and moments that feel real. But reality isn't measured in fleeting moments of affection. It's revealed in patterns. And if the pattern is that she keeps baiting you into defending yourself, questioning yourself, fixing her emotions, apologizing for things you didn't do, then you're not in a relationship, you're in a trap. And the longer you play, the deeper you sink into believing that this is normal, that all relationships are this confusing, that love is meant to hurt this much. And that's the most dangerous part, because the moment you normalize her manipulation is the moment you forget what peace even feels like. And then she doesn't even have to try as hard, because you start censoring yourself, walking on eggshells, second-guessing every message you send, every word you speak, trying to pre-calculate her mood, like you're decoding a puzzle instead of being in a connection. And now you're trapped in overthinking, isolated from your own voice, distant from your own truth, and stuck in a loop where the only way out feels like making her happy. But her happiness keeps costing you your dignity, and you don't even see that the more you try to fix it, the more she blames you, because she knows you care, she knows you want peace, and that's what she weaponizes, not your weakness, but your desire to make things right. And until you stop explaining and start observing, until you stop trying to win her approval and start reclaiming your boundaries, you'll be stuck in this dance of pain that always starts with her pushing your buttons and ends with you apologizing for bleeding. And it doesn't matter how strong you are physically, if your peace can be stolen by a few words and guilt trips. And the truth is, the more power you give her with your reactions, the more she learns that all she has to do is threaten to leave, accuse you of being cold, or cry at the right moment and you'll fold. And now she doesn't need to earn your respect. She just has to bait you. And that's exactly why your silence isn't avoidance. It's strategy. Not because you're scared, but because you've outgrown the need to be understood by someone committed to misunderstanding you. And when you learn to observe instead of react, to walk away instead of argue, to let the lies speak for themselves without trying to defend your name to someone who already decided you're the villain, that's when you stop being her puppet and start being your own man again. Because every time you fall into her trap and try to justify your worth, you lose a piece of it. But the moment you stop giving her the reaction, she starts losing her grip. Not because you're playing games, but because you're finally done playing hers, and that's how you win. Not with words, not with anger, but with a level of detachment so clear, so calm, so focused, that she has nothing left to feed on, and she'll try harder. she'll scream louder. She'll accuse you of being distant, cold, heartless. But what she's really mad at is that her tactics no longer work. Her chaos no longer touches you. Her words no longer shake you, because now you've learned what no one taught you growing up. Not how to fight for her, but how to stop fighting yourself for her approval. And if you're finally ready to live life on your terms, grounded, clear, and unshakable, the Stoic Relationship Blueprint is your next step. It's more than a book. It's a guide built for men who are done being emotionally manipulated, who are tired of chasing peace in people who thrive on confusion. This is not just something you read once and forget. It's yours for life. Now also available in audiobook format, so you can absorb every life-changing principle while walking, training, driving, or just clearing your mind. This isn't just knowledge, it's power, it's peace, it's clarity. You'll never have to question what to do again. You'll always have this blueprint to return to in your pocket. The link is in the comments. Click it now. Make this the moment you will never forget. Number 2, set strong boundaries. You've been trained to believe that boundaries are selfish, that saying no means you're difficult, that walking away makes you the villain. But what if I told you the truth is the complete opposite? That setting boundaries is the greatest act of strength and self-respect you will ever practice, not just with her, but with the world. Because every time you let something slide that should have been shut down, you reinforce the idea that your dignity is up for negotiation, and toxic women know this better than anyone. They don't test you by asking directly. They test you in subtleties, with sarcasm that stings, with jokes disguised as insults, with little comments that cross the line just enough to see if you'll flinch, and if you let it go because you don't want to be too sensitive, because you're trying to be understanding, because you've been told to pick your battles, then congratulations. You just taught her she can keep pushing, and it always starts small, like a drip of disrespect that over time becomes a flood, until you wake up in a life where your self-worth is leaking from the cracks you never sealed, and now you feel like you're losing yourself. Not all at once, but slowly, in every ignored red flag, every time you stayed quiet to avoid tension, every moment you allowed disrespect in the name of keeping the peace. But peace bought at the cost of self-betrayal isn't peace at all. It's submission. And boundaries aren't about controlling her. They're about protecting you. And when you start enforcing them, she will resist. Not because you're wrong, but because the power dynamic has shifted. And power is the only thing a toxic woman values. Not love, not connection, but the ability to manipulate without consequence. And when you tell her, "This is my line and I won't tolerate you crossing it," her mask slips, and you'll see her scramble, guilt you, accuse you, try to make you feel cruel for protecting your soul. And this is where most men fail, because they confuse pushback with punishment. But pushback is proof that your boundary is real, and what you do next defines everything. Do you backpedal and apologize for making her uncomfortable? Or do you stand firm knowing that discomfort is the price of clarity? Because if she respects you, she will adjust. And if she doesn't, she will escalate. And that's your answer right there. Not in her words, but in her reaction to your limits. And setting strong boundaries doesn't mean building walls. It means deciding who gets through the door and who doesn't. It means knowing that not everyone deserves your energy. Not everyone earns the right to sit at your table. Not everyone should have access to your thoughts, your time, your heart. And when you learn to say no without guilt, to walk away without regret, to protect your time like it's gold, you stop bleeding for people who wouldn't offer you a bandage. And I know what you're thinking. It's not that easy. You love her. You've invested time. Maybe you share a home, a family, a past. But that's not a reason to drown. That's not a reason to tolerate what's breaking you down, because you can't build a future on the ashes of your self-respect. And if she's worth it, she'll meet you at the line and grow. But if she's toxic, She'll accuse you of changing, and she'll be right, because you are changing. You're finally remembering who you are, and that man doesn't need to beg for kindness, doesn't need to accept chaos as normal, doesn't need to trade his sanity for a relationship title. And when you build boundaries, not just verbally but behaviorally, when your actions match your words, when your energy pulls back every time disrespect shows up, she'll feel it. And if she's addicted to control, she'll call it abandonment. But it's not. It's alignment. Alignment with who you are becoming. A man who doesn't tolerate love that hurts. A man who doesn't negotiate with manipulation. A man who would rather be alone than with someone who disrespects him. And it starts small. Cutting off conversations that go in circles. Ending debates that lead nowhere. Pausing replies to guilt trips. Pulling back when your energy is being drained. And no, it won't be comfortable. But neither is staying in a space where you're constantly questioned, tested, broken. And boundaries won't scare the right woman. They'll reveal her. They'll show you whether she values you or the version of you she can control. And most importantly, boundaries will show you who you are when you stop trying to prove your worth and start living it. So if you want change, real change, stop asking for respect and start expecting it. Stop explaining your limits and start enforcing them. Stop hoping she'll get it and start acting like you mean it, and watch how fast your life begins to transform, not because she changed, but because you finally did. Number 3. Detach emotionally. You think detaching means giving up. You think it's cold. You think you're supposed to care through the pain, hold on through the disrespect, endure through the breakdowns, and rebuild every time she tears it all down again. But what no one told you is that emotional detachment is not abandonment. It's protection, not of her, but of your sanity. Because every time you get pulled back into the emotional roller coaster of her moods, her threats, her silence, her accusations, you lose a little more of your center and start basing your peace on her approval. And the most dangerous place you can ever live is in someone else's mood swings, where your happiness is borrowed and your stability is temporary. And you know it because some days she's sweet, soft, apologetic, and it feels like maybe, just maybe, she changed. But deep down, you already know it's temporary, that this peace is rented, and the price is your silence, your tolerance, your patience with the next wave of accusations or manipulation or control tactics that she wraps in emotional outbursts and justifies with, "This is just how I am," and you keep holding on because you're afraid that walking away means you failed. But the truth is, you fail every day you stay in a situation that makes you shrink, makes you question yourself, makes you feel like you're always one mistake away from being punished with emotional distance or explosive drama. And emotional detachment doesn't mean being numb. It means being wise enough to stop pouring your energy into something that doesn't pour anything back, but guilt and exhaustion. And when you detach, you stop feeding the cycle. You stop taking the bait. You stop falling for the same apologies that never come with action. And that's when everything changes. Not because she changes, but because you stop reacting, stop explaining, stop trying to fix what was never your job to fix in the first place. Because the more you try to fix her, the more broken you become, and the more she learns that her emotional chaos keeps you invested. And when you finally choose detachment, not out of anger but awareness, you take back your power, and it looks like silence, like less texting, like choosing to not respond to the provocation, like no longer asking what's wrong when she gives you attitude, like letting her sit in her drama without rushing to solve it. And at first she'll call you distant, she'll say you don't care, she'll try to guilt you back into the chaos. But that's when you need to stay centered and remember that the man you're becoming values peace over approval, clarity over confusion, truth over manipulation. And that means emotionally pulling back from anyone who drains more than they give, even if you love them. Because love isn't enough when it costs your identity, your focus, your ambition, your joy, and detachment doesn't happen overnight. It starts in small moments, when you pause before replying, when you walk away from pointless arguments, when you realize her silence isn't your responsibility, when you choose not to chase someone who doesn't even know how to sit with their own chaos without dragging you into it. And every time you choose that pause, that stillness, that inner calm, you build strength, you build emotional muscle, and eventually her patterns stop affecting you, not because you've hardened, but because you've grown, because you finally understand that your value isn't proven through pain, and you don't owe your loyalty to someone who feeds off your insecurity, who keeps you doubting your worth, so you stay chasing validation. She never plans to give, and this emotional detachment will scare her because she's losing control, not over you physically, but over your thoughts, your emotions, your reactions, and that's all she ever had to begin with, and now that you're reclaiming them, she'll start trying harder, pressing buttons, testing you, but the man who has emotionally detached no longer plays emotional tag, no longer apologizes for choosing peace, no longer entertains passive-aggressive comments or emotional manipulation disguised as vulnerability. He simply sees it, acknowledges it, and doesn't allow it to touch his internal world. And the result is simple: freedom, not just from her behavior, but from the old version of yourself that tolerated it. Number 4. Stay calm, always. She doesn't need to yell to create chaos. She just needs to know that your emotions are controlled by her moods. And once she sees that your peace rises and falls, depending on how she speaks to you, how she acts, how she responds or ignores, then she knows she has the leverage, because now you're not making decisions from clarity, but from reaction. And every time you try to fix her mood or explain yourself, or chase her approval after she disrespects you, you reinforce the cycle that says her behavior controls your state. But calmness is the antidote, not the fake kind where you hold your breath and pretend you're unbothered while boiling inside, but the real kind that comes from not allowing her drama to change your direction, not letting her insults shake your values, not giving your energy away to accusations that don't deserve an answer. Because when you stay calm, truly calm, you see everything with a different lens. You stop getting pulled into endless arguments that go nowhere. You stop feeding emotional games that are designed to confuse, not resolve. You stop wasting your mental energy trying to be heard by someone who isn't listening, and instead, you start listening to yourself, and what you hear is the truth that you've been avoiding. You've been trained to believe that the loudest person wins, that whoever reacts most intensely must care the most. But that's not care. That's chaos, and you don't need to match it. You need to rise above it without saying a word, because the man who can sit in the face of disrespect and walk away instead of arguing is not weak. He's disciplined, and discipline is power. She cannot understand because she expects to provoke you. She expects to see you unravel, to get that reaction, that emotional outburst she can twist into her narrative. But when you deny her that, you show her who's actually in control. Not of her, but of yourself. And that self-control becomes a boundary she cannot cross. And she will try, she'll push harder, she'll escalate the tactics, she'll poke at your past, at your manhood, at your silence, anything to get a response. But what she doesn't realize is that your silence is no longer weakness, it's presence. It's you choosing where your energy goes, and every time you don't respond, you reclaim a piece of yourself that you lost, trying to defend your truth to someone who was never looking for it. And staying calm doesn't mean being passive. It means being precise. It means you speak only when it's necessary, and when you do, every word carries weight because you're no longer reacting emotionally. You're responding intentionally, and that shift creates discomfort for her, because now she's no longer in charge of the emotional rhythm of the relationship, and she'll accuse you of being distant, of being heartless, of not caring, but deep down she knows she's losing her grip, And that's when she'll try every tactic to bring you back into the old pattern, to make you prove yourself again, to make you defend your decisions. But you no longer need to explain what you tolerate and what you don't, because your peace is not up for negotiation. And when you walk into a room with that presence, when you carry yourself with the calm of a man who doesn't need to argue to make his point, you become untouchable, not because you're aggressive, but because you're unshakable. And that energy changes everything. It forces people to adjust. It forces the disrespect to fall flat, because it no longer has a place to land. And yes, she'll get louder. She'll guilt trip. She'll try silence, rage, seduction, anything to test if the old you is still there. But when you've trained yourself to remain centered, when you've practiced the art of not letting outside energy dictate your decisions, you'll see through it all and simply choose not to participate. And that is the highest form of strength. Not proving, not reacting, not convincing, just being solid, steady, and unmoved. And the more you practice it, the more you'll see how your calmness dismantles every manipulation, every guilt tactic, every trap, because nothing grows without your attention. And once you stop feeding her games with emotional energy, they die. And that's when you're free, not because she changed, but because you did. Because now you don't need her to calm down. You don't need the situation to get better. You're already better, and no one can take that away unless you give them permission. Number 5. Walk away from drama. You don't realize how far you've fallen until you stop pretending the chaos is normal, until the silence feels foreign, because you've been living in conflict for so long, you forgot what peace even sounds like. And every time you stay after the apology, every time you make excuses for her disrespect, every time you tell yourself, this time she really means it, you bury a piece of your dignity under the hope that things will magically change, but they don't. Because the truth is, she never had to change as long as you kept accepting her behavior. And the longer you stay, the more she learns that you are negotiable, that your values bend when guilt is applied, that your limits collapse under the weight of her blame. And this is why drama becomes the language of the relationship. Not because it has to be, but because it works, because it keeps you distracted, confused, uncertain. And she knows that as long as you're confused, you won't leave. And it starts with small things, mood swings that never get addressed, fights that never get resolved, apologies that never come with changed actions. And over time you begin to shrink, not all at once, but slowly, through the dozens of compromises you make just to keep things smooth, until one day you look in the mirror and don't recognize the man looking back at you because he's been edited down by every argument he avoided, every truth he swallowed, every feeling he buried just to keep her calm. And this is where walking away becomes more than a decision. It becomes survival. Because if you don't walk away, you'll keep betraying yourself for the illusion of connection. And love should never feel like self-abandonment. Love should never demand you sacrifice your peace to prove your loyalty. And if the only time she's kind is when she wants something, if the only time she's affectionate is after an emotional explosion, if the only time you feel close is after you've endured another emotional breakdown, then you're not in love. You're in a pattern, a cycle that keeps repeating because you're afraid to walk away, and she's not afraid to keep you trapped. And the truth is, most men don't leave because they've been conditioned to fix everything, to endure, to hold on until it breaks them. But that's not strength, that's conditioning. And when you finally decide to walk away, not with drama but with clarity, everything changes. Not because she changes, but because you do. Because you finally realize that peace is your responsibility. And if she won't give it to you, then you must give it to yourself. And walking away doesn't mean you hate her. It means you love yourself enough to stop trying to fix what she keeps breaking. It means you're done living in an environment where the louder person always wins, and the quieter one always bleeds. And yes, she'll call you weak. She'll call you cold. She'll call you heartless. But none of that matters, because her words have already proven to be tools of manipulation, not reflection. And you don't need validation from someone who refuses to respect you. You don't need closure from someone who benefits from keeping the door open just enough to keep you confused. And when you finally leave, really leave, you'll feel guilt at first. But that's not guilt. It's withdrawal, because you've been addicted to dysfunction, and your nervous system has adapted to crisis. But keep walking, keep stepping forward, keep choosing yourself even when it hurts, because eventually the peace feels stronger than the pull to go back, and you start remembering who you were before you gave your power away, before your boundaries were erased by someone who only respected you when you stayed silent. And walking away means reclaiming every part of yourself that got lost in the arguments, in the explaining, in the proving, in the waiting, in the hoping. And once you realize that love doesn't look like pain with good moments in between, once you accept that real connection doesn't require constant recovery, you'll never settle again. And this isn't about bitterness, it's about freedom. Because walking away isn't about making her suffer, it's about making you whole again. It's about never again staying in spaces where your self-worth is up for debate, where your voice has to scream to be heard, where your soul has to fight to be seen. And you walk away not because you lost, but because you won, because you woke up, because you stopped participating in the circus of confusion, because you chose silence over chaos, dignity over drama, self-respect over approval, and that decision rewrites your life. That moment becomes your turning point, and it's not about finding someone better, it's about becoming someone you never abandon again. If you're still here, it means something inside you is waking up, the part of you that's tired of being silenced, tired of tolerating disrespect, tired of pretending this is what love is supposed to feel like. Society wants you confused, passive, and quiet, because a man with clarity is dangerous. A man who knows how to walk away, how to stay calm, how to stop explaining himself, is untouchable. The Stoic relationship blueprint is the tool they hope you never find. It's packed with timeless principles that flip the game upside down and hand you back your power. And now it's in audiobook format too, so you can listen while walking, training, thinking, leveling up every single day. The link is in the comments. Grab it now. Comment "Unshakable Peace" if you're ready to own your peace. Like the video and subscribe to help another man escape the trap before it's too late.